Hello, and welcome to the Hippocrates Health Institute in West Palm Beach, Florida. Each week, we host about 60 guests in our unique, lush, healthful environment. We teach the Living Foods lifestyle, which focuses on a diet of organic, living, raw foods such as sprouts, green juices, vegetables, sea vegetables, and soaked and sprouted grains, nuts, and seeds. We employ wheatgrass juice, a powerful cleansing and healing agent that expedites the healing process remarkably well. Hippocrates is not only a health center, it is also a health school, showing how live foods and increased oxygen improve on the state of your health. Tests have proven that enzymes and oxygen nourishment help the body to correct any imbalances or weaknesses that encourage or allow illness. By supplying your system with oxygen and enzymes, we help you rebuild your health. The Institute was started in 1955 by Dr. Ann Wigmore, who healed herself of cancer and shared her wisdom with people who wished to heal naturally. In addition to the Living Foods diet, we focus on all the aspects of a healthy lifestyle. We analyze your blood, and a personalized program will be developed for you. Many problems can be seen through the blood screening process, and specially trained personnel are here at all times to make sure that proper procedures for your health are followed. We also teach you the importance of exercise and rest, the need to heal emotional wounds. Thousands of people have healed themselves by giving their bodies the nutrition needed by every cell and eliminating the toxins that create disease. We know that our immune systems have been designed impeccably. It's just that no one gave us an owner's manual for the proper care and feeding of our amazing human bodies. In this series of programs, you will learn about the inner workings of the body, the importance of detoxing and eliminating, how to best use supplements, how to live practically and healthfully with the combination of the foods we eat. We will answer scores of questions our guests ask about the Living Foods lifestyle. We invite you to join us in person for the 3-week Life Change program we offer at Hippocrates Health Institute. You can reach us at 800-842-2125, also at 561-471-8876, or on the web at www.hippocratesinstitute.org. Welcome to the Hippocrates Lecture on Detox and Elimination with Anna Maria Clement. In this program, Anna Maria takes us on a journey, exploring the workings of the eliminative systems and organs of the body. We see how the immune system is designed to keep us healthy, and how our lifestyle choices impact the strength and ability of the immune system to do so. You'll learn what to expect as you detoxify in cycles over time. Now, let's join Anna Maria Clement for Detox and Elimination.
Detox is a widely used word internationally and used in so many ways, and what I'm going to do today is take you through how you can use it and do something really good about it and use it in daily life. I want to take you through first how in your life you've had something called a healing rhythm. It's my own word of what happens through the life of cleansing and detox. It's strange, but if you look back, you will see that you will have gone through this. Your body goes through a heavier detox for about 10 days and kind of gives you a plateau for 10 days. And then it gives you a heavier detox for 10 days. I worked in this field for nearly 30 years, and I've seen it, with myself. I've seen it with everybody that we've worked with. So for example, at the Institute, we have a 3-week program, and the first 10 days, you actually detoxify 60% of all your waste products. So we tell it over and over again, the first week, you don't feel so hot, emotionally or physically. And I get endless visits to my office, especially in the middle of the week of, I have nausea, I have a headache, I don't feel so good, I'm losing weight. And, endlessly, of course, I know what to say after all these years, just hang in there. Just hang in there. When you change your lifestyle and change your diet, and of course, when you go on a raw food diet, it doesn't put weight on you. We need to exercise. We need to do resistance training. We need to lift weights and, do aerobics by walking and swimming and everything that we propose. Well, the first week, it's such a big change of your system, getting raw food, getting oxygen and enzymes, because boy, do they want to clean you. Any cleaning product out there now has oxygen and enzymes in it, and you know why, because nothing cleans you up better than that. So of course, those 10 days, you just want to survive them, and you do very well, because we feed you very well through the juices and wheatgrass and everything you get through the salad buffet. Then you have 10 days. So if you're here 3 weeks, the last 10 days you're here, you start perking up, you start feeling better. Everybody tells you how much better you're glowing and how, you're losing weight if you needed to, or you're putting on, you start looking much better. So then at graduation, we have graduation every week. So if you graduate after 3 weeks, you definitely will stand up here and say it was the best thing you did in your life. But then I get the telephone call on Monday that says, what on earth happened? What did I do wrong? Because then you probably go through the next 10 days. Some of you will go through it like a breeze, and some of you will have it much heavier. Of course, it takes you to a healthier stage each time that you go through that heavier detox. And the heavy detox gets less heavy each time you go through it, and evens out eventually with the plateau. But you also go through it emotionally. At the end of the lecture, I will go through emotional stuff that you also detoxify. And, if this is brand new and you're just starting into something like this, let me tell you, you go through a lot of emotions because every organ stores emotions. So that's something that we need to remember, that we actually have a healing rhythm. And thank God for that, because especially if we want to release tumors, we want to release arthritis or HIV, whatever we have, we cannot detoxify heavy all the time. We need a plateau that gives us time. Let's say that we are on heavy medication too. That's the time that we might be able to reduce medication and then stay on that amount while we're still going through a heavier detox. The next plateau, we might be able to reduce even more. So that's the rhythm, but it only leads one way, it's only going to lead to success. So let me take you through detox and end elimination. You have an entrance and an exit, and it reminds of modern time, like Charlie Chaplin in Modern Time, or Lucy Ball in The Chocolate Factory, because look at this. You have, at the entrance, you have 4 filtering organs. They filter the blood. And there are 3 that starts on L and 1 starts on K. And the largest filter organ in your body is your lymph, your lymphatic system. And oxygen moves your lymph. Only oxygen moves your lymph. It doesn't have a pump, like the heart pumps the blood around. It needs oxygen, it needs movement. The diaphragm works like a pump in a way, because as you move, as you walk, as you swim, work out, as you eat living foods that gives you oxygen, you move it and you start filtering the blood so much better. Your lymph stores your white blood cells, and it's an impeccable system that you have in the lymph stored there. First of all, white blood cells are made through the bone marrow, but it's not made in all the different kinds of white blood cells. You have a stem cell or a mother cell. If that stem cell gets the right hormonal directions, you will be healthy. For example, if it gets the wrong directions, leukemia can happen, and it starts to pumping out tons of white blood cells. You know, in the old days, they called it the white blood because there were so many white blood cells. And external pollution, of course, things that we eat could really give us the wrong hormonal directions. From what you need is for the moment should come out here. For example, here in Florida, we live below sea level. When we go up to Colorado to lecture, we don't have enough blood. And so we've learned not to lecture the first night we arrive because we're in La La Land. We don't have enough oxygen. So you lecture the next day, and by that time, your bone marrow got the message, we need much more blood, make it. So look at this. We get so and so many red blood cells, and we get so and so many white blood cells. And I'm going to talk about the white blood cells. A good white blood count should be between 4.5 and 7.5. That's when nothing serious is happening. But it doesn't tell you much, because there's something called differential that you want to have next time you have a blood test. You don't just want to have a total white blood count. Let's say that I had a 6. Doesn't say much. It says I'm not fighting a flu or something, because that would bring it up to a 10, 11. But a lot of things could be happening in that number. So I know I need to see a differential. In the differential, you see something called lymphocytes. And if I make 600%, because in the differential you get percentage, they should be 33% of that 6. Now, lymphocytes are the T cell and the B cell. B cell is double the size. T cells, they are the brains of your immune system. They are like a huge computer. They store all the memory, they store the antibodies, anything that you fight before. If you had chicken pox, they had the antibody for it, no matter what. The B cell makes antibodies. You will see, for example, if we look at your blood, your red blood cell looks like little donuts floating around in the plasma. And T cells will be in, actually they're the same size as a red blood cell, and they will be making sure that any waste products, if you never looked at your blood under microscope, you'd be surprised what we see. And waste products is a big part of that if our diet has been very, very processed. If we mainly been eating a high protein, high fat, high sugar diet, there's going to be a lot of waste in here. And the T cell needs to make sure that that's always taken care of. But of course, we know it takes care of tumors. We know it takes care of virus, bacteria. We know it takes care of parasites, but in a very special way. Now, let's say that there came a brand new virus in here, an ugly virus that we never seen before. We never fought before. And instead of blaming Hong Kong, let's say it came from Sweden. Oh, it's awful, it's vicious, we don't have any vaccine, we don't have anything for it. B cell will, within 2 days, have figured out what kind of antibody that the T cell needs, because the T cell will then use that antibody and take care of that virus. Isn't that incredible? And then, who will take care of this? Because the main work for your T cell is to make sure that the plasma is always clean. If the plasma is not clean, any invader can hide. So it needs to always make sure that it's clean. So then comes leukocytes. Leukocytes make up 60% of all your white blood cells. And there are different kinds. I'll put one up here. Okay. Leukocytes are like huge amoebas, and this one is called neutrophils, the 60%. That one is always cleaning waste up. You see it all the time in your blood. It's a scavenger. It will eat anything. So that definitely, getting 60%, it always will be going for cleanup, and T cell constantly gives chemical messages to the neutrophils. Then, who's going to clean this virus up? It's a special white blood cell called monocyte. Monocytes. And they only make up 4% of all your white blood cells. So they will get orders from the T cells. Hey, we got a virus. We got a lot. You think monocytes will only stay at 4% if it got a big job like that? No, it will take a big crew in now, and it probably will up to 14. I'll show you how they do that. It's all a business. Even in your body, it's a business. So we got to give them what they need so they can take care of their business. Now, let's say I had yeast. Yeast looks like white cotton balls in here. Just like the fungus when you make different things or you find old things, just like that, it looks in your blood too. Or let's say I have parasite, little fast wigglers in there, we see them too. Or I have allergies. You know, it could be an allergen like wheat, gluten, lactose allergy, you know, something like that. Then comes another one, and they're called eosinophils. Eosinophils, they all look like big dumbbells, and they're 3% eosinophils. They work together with basophils. Basophils make histamine, so they should not be more than like 0.2. They should be 0 something. So together, really, there shouldn't be more than 3. So let's say now I have this, I have yeast, or I have parasites, or I have an allergy. The T cell will now send orders to them to vacuum clean. You see how impeccable it is? Now look at this business. If I have a tumor, if I now have a tumor, and I have a wonderful picture by Lennart Nilsson, he's a medical photographer that was far ahead of his time. He's from Sweden, and he followed the egg and the sperm for the 9 months. You've probably seen his books or videos, it's fantastic. Here he has a picture that's unbelievable. It just cleans everything up that we thought was happening with cancer, because in old days we were told that your immune system does not think that that tumor is an invader, because it has its own life. It has its own system of blood coming in and everything. It's like independent. Well, it's all wrong. Here we have, guess who's working on this tumor? You have the T cells, you have B cells, you have eosinophil, and of course monocytes work on this. And what he says is that they drill hole, and slowly but surely they destroy that tumor. The drilling, so you need a team of that. Guess what now? If I eat a diet full of heavy processed foods, the most important work though was neutrophils. They will vacuum clean until that's clean. And these guys will have to stay on low numbers. If you want to give them high numbers so that the crew who really knows what to do can destroy this tumor or get rid of arthritis or get rid of any virus, you need to do something, and you need to stay on 100% raw food, because you got to give them all the oxygen that they need. When you cook food, there is no more oxygen, and there is no more enzymes. And of course, enzymes comes in with the hormonal directions to the stem cell too. So it's very fine tuning that you need to do with it through the diet and exercise, and of course how you think too. So look at this now. If I eat a raw food diet, I don't need to keep the neutrophils on 60%. I can drop them to 30. 30 even will clean me up enough if I'm on living food. Guess who can take it? I can up monocytes, who are big tumor eaters. I can give them 14%. Eosinophil loves it too. I can give them 13. Well, The boss better be high here. I can up them to 43. You see that? And what we see in 3 weeks here is this. It's like every time I see it, I say, you're a textbook. You know, it's just like it should be. It's a business. And as how long this will go on, it depends on, you know, individually, how much we have to do. And it will go up and down. And that's why, especially when you leave, we ask you to send blood tests to us so we can follow you. Because there is not many out there that knows what a real detox and elimination is and where it takes you. Because it definitely is an up and down process. But it takes you to success. You just got to believe in it too. And you got to know that thousands and thousands of people have done it before you, you know. The more you eat living food, the more you help to detoxify your body too. Because we can't be hysteric. We live in a world we are all bombarded with a lot of things. And we're all bombarded with a lot of radiation too. You will definitely protect yourself incredibly by being on a living food and by exercising. The more oxygen you bring in, the more you protect your whole system, because nothing can really survive with sufficient oxygen. Then you have lymph nodes. And lymph nodes you find mainly in the neck area, under the arms, in the groin area, and sometimes they swell. Just like a lymph gland swell, sometimes your tonsils swell, because you're detoxifying. I mean, you turn so toxic that your system puts the right red lights on and says, detoxify. There are golden rules when you detoxify. You need to be on 100% raw food diet. You need to rest. You need to have body massage. You need maybe acupuncture, maybe chiropractic. You need definitely to work on your whole body and your whole circulation. I think massage is not a luxury. I think massage is a necessity. And all over the world there are cultures where massage is definitely part of daily life. And you know, I gave massage for many years, and the incredible results you see with the lymphatic system, with the skin, with the whole bone structure of treating a person right. So it's very important to keep that going, and especially if we cannot move around enough. I say if you're in a hospital, you should have massage every day. You make sure you get a massage therapist there in every day while you're there. So the lymph we need to treat, and we do trampoline. And actually the gravity, when you jump on the trampoline, I don't mean you have to be a monkey on it. You can just jump and hold on. If you have a rack, you can hold on and just actually lock your knees back like a ballerina and just let your body weight go on it. But you actually move your lymph fantastic by doing that. And skin brushing. When you skin brush, you move your lymph. So get a good skin brush. You can do it either dry or do it in the shower. You know, if you don't like to do it dry, at least do it in the shower and get circulation. You move it. The lymph is not an elimination organ. It is a filtering system, and it empties out in the vascular system. So this is, you go this way, you go up towards the lymph, or the heart if it's easier to remember. And then let me go to the liver. Liver, you have a right lobe by the last rib on the right side. You find it protected by the rib there. Then you have a smaller left lobe right beside it. Liver takes care of so much. When you look in a blood test, there will be liver enzymes. And most blood tests will have these. One is called alkaline phosphatase. One will be called total bilirubin. One will be called GGTP. One will be called SGOT. One will be called SGPT. And one will be called LDH. Not the cholesterol, HDL. It's the LDH. What they are, the SGOT to start with, is a major liver enzyme. Often from hepatitis, it tends to stay high. And you know, if you've gone through your doctor and normal treatment, it usually stay high for a long time. Here it will drop for sure. GGP also major liver enzyme. So these two usually, if there is something more serious, they would definitely scream. Bilirubin is very food related. If before I came here, had like a lot of people do, a lot of people have a party with their friends before they leave because it's like the last for a while. And they might have a seafood dinner and they might have wine and dessert. And bilirubin should only be actually less than 1 or 1. And if you come in and you're like a 2.5 and then by the time you leave it dropped to 1, first thing I will ask, what did you eat before you got here? And then you will tell me about this big party they held for you. So unless it stays, if you come in a 2 and it stays a 2, you know, then it's usually, I mean, obviously a more serious problem. But that one can drop. Alkaline phosphatase has to do with your bones. And you should see us, when the first time we did our kids' blood test, alkaline phosphate for a child is very high because the bones are growing. So theirs came out 300 and 400. It should not be above 100. And I thought, oh boy, we have problems. Then I finally found a doctor that really knew it. And he said, no, they're growing. But you know what we have more problem with now? We have the low numbers. It should be above 40. So many women are down to 30 or 29 because our diet is so acid forming. And we start to take minerals out of our bones. There's only 2 ways that we can feed our system and create homeostasis, which is balance in their whole body. I either eat it, or if I don't eat right, then I take it out of my bones. That's how osteoporosis, that's how osteoarthritis starts. So lots of women have this problem, but you see it change. In 3 weeks it starts changing. And you know if you have osteoporosis that it is reversible. Of course, not only through diet, we need resistant training. We need resistance to build the bone back again. So alkaline phosphatase I always check, and we sure want it to change while you're here because you are on a very alkaline diet, and we get to that with the kidney too. SGPT has to do with your gallbladder. So now it should be around 10 to 15. If you come in at 15 and you drop to a 9 while you're here, then I will tell you either have a sluggish gallbladder or you might even have gallstones. LDH is a non-specific liver enzyme, has to do with the tissue around the heart. It gets very upset sometimes, should not be above 200, should be between 1 and 200. And after surgery, it could be up in thousands, you know, that didn't even have anything to do with the liver. So it will drop also in hundreds, you know, as you start to balance. So these are liver enzymes. So every organ in your body have enzymes. Now these are only 6 that we know medically. You can imagine the thousands and thousands, maybe millions more that there are. So this is just a little taste of what's going on in your liver. Now your liver has to help you with the sugar. You have the pancreas that takes care of the insulin balance, so you never have too much sugar in your blood. But the one that's hit the worst is always the liver. The liver recovers faster than any organ. It rebuilds itself faster than any organ. And, you know, slowly but surely you see all these numbers were, of course, off the wall. And you start to see in 3 weeks how they regulate. You know, and then hopefully we stay on a good live food diet and we do it as long as we need to be really strict 100%. Which definitely would take 2 years or something like that. So that is a commitment to do then. But it's wonderful to see, you know, from blood tests that we get in to follow how it all slowly but surely just clean up. Your liver makes a quart of bile every day, and that's stored in the gallbladder. And the gallbladder is this avocado-sized pocket right below the liver. how can we get gallstones? Or how do we get a gallbladder that's not working well? Because you know it's the last pocket before it goes into the small intestine. So it really has to be clean, and because it takes care of waste products too. Talk about recycling. What happens when red blood cells die? They live about 120 days. Sometimes we use them up much faster. Well, after that, they go into the spleen and they get to be recycled. So any goodies of iron and protein and whatever can be reused into your system will be, the left will go to the gallbladder, like so much other waste, because that's right before the small intestine. And fats are digested in the small intestine. Through bile ducts, you bring the bile that will digest the fat, the cholesterol. If you ever touched bile, it's as fat as when you wax the car. In old days, you used to have a can with some stuff, and you really had to rub on the car to get it shiny. Remember that? Remember how that felt? It was fatter than fat. If it wasn't, how could it digest fat? You know, if it was like water, it would just be droplets on top of fat. So it's really greasy. That's what bile is. And sometimes we get gallstones. And gallstones, if you took a gallstone and you cut it in half, you would see layers and layers. Just like everything else is layered. You cut a tree down, you see the layer. Here you see the layer of fat, of bile salts, biominerals, cholesterol, and a lot of protein. Protein is a criminal in a lot of different ways. We store protein in so many ways. We get to it more. Definitely in gallstones. There is a natural way to cleanse your gallbladder, and it's been done, you know, through so many years. And of course, if it's a detrimental situation, we need a surgery, we're going to have a surgery. But let's say that we know we have gallstones, we live with it, and we want to do some detox cleanse really naturally. Then we would fast. We need to fast. And what we do on every Wednesday at the Institute, we fast, and it's purely on juices, water, herb tea. We don't do water fast because it cannot detoxify you the same way as juices. And you will hear a lot about juices, but it's the chlorophyll brings in oxygen. It works much better to detoxify than water. It has enzymes, it has oxygen. We get back to that over and over again. That's in the best cleaning products, that's what you have. So just imagine when you fast, that's what you want. So then we add something. So we drink our juices all day long. We do also colon cleanse. We take an enema and we do an implant. And you will have a lecture later about enemas and implants. And implants is the most important in the beginning because it's actually a chlorophyll implant. We take 4 ounces of wheatgrass and we do it through the enema, but after the water flush. And so if you've never done it, you need to go through it the right way and see how we do it. But it's very important to clean the colon when you fast. So we do that, then we add something. We add flaxseed water. And when you make flaxseed water, you take 1/5 of whole flax seeds. The whole flax seeds. You get them in the health food store, and you take a gallon jar. You take 1/5 of whole flaxseed, fill the bottle up with good water, distilled water, wellness water, and stir, let it sit overnight. In the morning, stir, and get a cup. So you take an 8-ounce cup. So you stir so the seeds are all mixed. Unless you have diverticulosis or you have colitis or Crohn's, then you're not going to stir the seeds, then you're just going to drink the water, okay? But otherwise, we can all drink the water, and you don't chew them, you just swallow them. The reason we get this, first of all, it has lecithin. It's a great liver cleanse too. And it has omega-3, which is great for this liver and gallbladder cleanse. But it also protects the whole gastrointestinal tube so that we can eat garlic. Now we love garlic here. So what we do, we get an apple and we take 2 cloves of garlic, not the bulb, 2 cloves. And we cut the apple in slices and the garlic in slices and we eat them together. So first we have the flaxseed that protects us. Then we have the apple with the pectin that makes it palatable. Shoot them together. I do it 3 times a day. So it actually will be breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Next day, I up the cloves to 3 cloves. 3 times a day. The next day, because I do 4 days, I add it to 4. And if I can, I up it to 5. Garlic is a natural antibiotic. When you cleanse, if you have gallstones, you're talking, it's an infection. So you need to protect through some natural antibiotic. So we'll use garlic. Then on the 3rd night, you would drink 4 ounces of olive oil. Now you would say, if I have gallstones, why on earth would I drink oil? That's obviously my problem. Well, in homeopathic medicine, and even in medicine, we have understood if you have a snake bite, you take snake poison. If you have a bee bite, you take bee poison, right? So you can do the opposite. You can hit the same, really, with the same for a short, intensive time and get a certain reaction. Homeopathy does it all the time. But of course, they dilute it like 3,000-4,000 times, but they hit back with the same thing. So we drink that oil, and then you can take a few slices of an orange or a lemon, just a little bit, because you cannot drink a lot. This has to be the last thing you do at night before you go to sleep. And so it's on the 3rd night, you've detoxified, you've been cleansing, you've been resting. This is not while you're working 16 hours a day or something. This is when you're resting. And then you go to sleep. Don't drink anymore after just a few slices of lemon, just to give a good flavor in your mouth. Go to sleep. You might feel nauseous. I've done it a few times, believe me, and sometimes I go through it like a breeze. Sometimes you're nauseous. You know, it happens here too. So if you are, try your best to keep it anyway. And sometimes you feel your heart beat a little bit faster. Even in detox, like normally, day to day here, as your blood sugar is starting to balance, you might feel heartbeat, a few days. Don't worry about it unless you really have a heart condition, But otherwise, it's very normal that you feel that. So you wake up the next morning, and then you also colon cleanse, do your enema and implant. And then you repeat it, because it's in the repeat on the 4th day that you really get results. So now, 4th night, I drink the 4 ounces of olive oil and do the lemon and everything, and then go to sleep. 5th day, I have to have a colonic, because now I really will clean. If I had just a gallbladder that didn't function too well, or didn't have gallstones, you probably don't see them. But boy, if there were gallstones, you will see them. And the bile is transparent green. In your gallbladder, the bile is transparent green. So now gallstones will be transparent green. Of course, they will not be hard as a rock. Like even you do surgery, they will be hard as rocks. These are soft, and that's why I've been able to show people, cut right through them and show what they look like. And they're usually little bulky things, smaller and bigger. And they don't hurt when they come out, because they're so soft by that time. Now, we've had many people have x-rays before and after, because if you just looked at them, you would not believe that they're gallstones. But many people have had x-rays before and after where it showed that definitely they were either half cleaned up or all cleaned up. A funny story from Sweden where I ran the clinic. We had a guy that runs like IBM of Sweden who never would put his foot in a place like this. But what happened, he had a gallbladder surgery scheduled, and the doctor went on strike. In Europe, we go on strike all the time. Anyway, they were on strike. So his wife had read about us, and she said, look, a week there, because it only takes a week. Why don't we go over there? Somehow he agreed, and he went through the program, and I showed his stones. I used to actually pick them up and put them on a napkin and put a matchbox and take a photo. If you didn't, in a few hours there would just be a green patch on the paper. So you had nothing to prove your rewards there. So he knew what happened and he felt great. He actually went back to work on Monday and he felt great. So there was time for surgery and he went in and he said, I want another x-ray before I go through this. And there were no more gallstones. This guy could not believe it. He became our best public relation person we ever had. He enjoyed it so much, after fact that actually did it. So it's not a guarantee that it cleans it totally, but it might it might get the wheels rolling for your body to take care of it by itself on a living food diet. So, this is not something you have to rush and do unless you need to do it. But, so there is alternatives. Now, then you digest carbohydrates in your liver. This juice that you were drinking just a while ago is about 90% carbohydrates and about 5% protein, give or take. Of course, we get much more during the day and 5% fat with all the salads and everything we do. Carbohydrates break down in the liver to simple sugar. Every cell in your body expects that. When you drink juices and when you eat the big salads, you get totally satisfied. Every cell in your body is definitely satisfied. We are on a high energy diet. This is the high energy diet. If you tell your friends you're on a 90% carbohydrate diet, they're going to think you're nuts because everybody else talks about protein now. And you sure don't want to be on a high protein diet unless you want to kill your kidneys and heart. Go ahead. It's not the way we want it. The carbohydrates that your liver can digest the easiest is what you get from the greens. When you get it from grains, pasta, bread, bakery, it's totally different route. It takes much longer. It's a different route through your liver than the carbohydrates you get. So, what happens, you don't even long for desserts when you eat this way because sugar, you already had all the sugar. You had 90% sugar, but it's not the sugar. It's a totally different sugar, but every cell in your body works on sugar. And you know what happens when we don't get it from the right way? We will get it from the wrong way, and we're all the same. I tell you, when I don't get enough green drinks, I start thinking about a muffin or a big pasta salad or, it's just because every cell in your body says, give me sugar. I need energy. Well, then, I was brought up on a Swedish diet and I could eat ever so big meals and you still could eat tons more right after. There was no limit because you never really were satisfied. So your body kept on saying, give me sugar. So you eat that dessert and then give me sugar. Well, then you eat a few sandwiches and then give me sugar. Well, then we drink a beer. And we just have to keep on feeding that body. And it's the truth. And it always will ask for sugar. So here comes the chocolate wine. It just rolls. And it's no limit. So what happened, you just totally get in peace. Your body gets into peace because it gets what it needs. It's just a wonderful feeling because, believe me, I sure was a sugarholic and like most of you too. And it's wonderful to not have that craving anymore. It's really slowly but surely goes away. But we have to organize our life so that we have that support. And sometimes you might not have that green drink right away. Well, then you could bring algae, like you could bring algae to work. Freshwater lake algae would support you a lot. So you could take chlorella, you could take blue-green algae. There's so many different products out there that would really give you that support in the middle of the day when your blood sugars start going down. And instead of a chocolate bar, we take a palmful of chlorella maybe, or a few tablespoons of blue-green algae. You will see what it does without side effects. So the liver is very, very important. Now, then we get to the lungs. And you know the lungs bring out carbon dioxide. And boy, are they important. Now, if you were a red blood cell, you have to pick up carbon dioxide from the detox of your own digestion, because it's actually a waste product from your digestion. And so now you pick it up, you bring it to the lungs, and you empty it out, and you fill up with oxygen, and then you run to all the cells, and you give them all what you have. Because as blood, you carry everything. You carry good and bad. You carry infections. You carry the health. So you bring in nourishment, you bring oxygen as a red blood cell. And I always say, everything in life is 80-20. It seems to be 80-20 in everything we do, you know. So if you are on a heavy processed diet, believe me, that probably makes 80% carbon dioxide. If you are on a living food diet, it probably makes 20%. It's not scientifically proven, but you'll see it because you see it in test results. Let's say 20% carbon dioxide. Can you imagine how much easier it would be for your system if it dealt with 20 compared to 80? Because you are not going to have enough oxygen if your diet is 80% carbon dioxide. So now the lungs, they have these microscopical hair-like structure called cilia. And just like when we get to the colon, they're called villi, they move like velvet. And they should be a big support of for your lungs, being immune system, because they should make sure any allergen, any virus, bacteria should not have a chance to get to the bottom of the lungs. Well, dairy is very tough on these cilia. Dairy will certainly help to calcify them, and they will not be your protection anymore as they should. First of all, the lungs, of course, have the tonsils. Now, maybe a lot of you don't have their tonsils, being a major lymph gland. So they should have the white blood cells and kick any virus, bacteria. They shouldn't even have a chance beyond the tonsils. If they're gone, now we better have the cilia. We better have them there. If we've been on a heavy diet of dairy or flour diet too, wheat diet for sure is destructive, then we don't have that protection. When Johns Hopkins did the research with children with childhood diseases like asthma and any allergy-related problems, dairy. Dairy is number one to create all these problems. Well, then at the bottom of your lungs, you have the bronchioles, or they're called alveoli. They're microscopical holes through which you inhale and exhale. Now, what happened, for example, with asthma, and in Sweden, we specialized in asthma too. So I was up every night, because asthma tends to happen as soon as you hit the pillow. You know, during the day, you can kind of move around and do what you need to do, and you have some sprays that dilates and, you know, helps you breathe better. The thing is, with asthma, which is an allergy infection, there will be mucus created, and this mucus or phlegm starts to cover all these little holes, so you cannot inhale and exhale. There's nothing worse than that. And then, usually we get a spray that helps us for the moment, but now that spray comes in with chemicals. It's synthetic. And now you mix that into your own infection, and it's sure not it's a cure. It is not a cure, because you're actually making it worse in the long run, and you need more and more machines. So many people have come here with machines. The most wonderful story, a lady came here, she was nearly 80 years old, and she had had asthma since 50. And when she came in here, she stayed in one of the rooms, and she had every machine. Every night she spent through from one machine to the other. She came in with a 25% lung capacity. She stayed for 15 weeks. She didn't want to leave. We became her home, and it was wonderful. She left with a 65% lung capacity. Yes. So you don't take no for an answer. You know, in medicine, we tend to see black and white. Well, it doesn't work that way. Because where there is a will, you know, you're going to win. So A man came here a year ago, 40 years old, heavy-duty asthma, bag full of medications and inhalers. When he came in here, he would have to hold on to the cupboard in the back, hold on to the couch, hold on to the wall before he got into the dining room. When he left, boy, now we use garlic again. For adults, I can use the same treatment with flaxseed water, apple, and garlic like we did for the liver cleanse. And we can up and up and up. And that's what we were known for in Sweden. We got you up to 40 to 60 cloves of garlic a day. And of course, you only do that. You don't do that by yourself. Do it under somebody's recommendation. Well, he came up to about 45 cloves. He left all his medication here. You would see him jogging around the lake in the back. Yeah, so wonderful. So garlic, guess what? Not only is a natural antibiotic, but it dissolves that phlegm. And when you clean the lungs, it comes oral. You will cough it. And yes, there are days it's tough because you cough. And, you know, sometimes you cough so much you have to see the chiropractor the next day because you really cough. But the natural way, you have to cough. You have to get rid of it orally. So you give your body all the oxygen it needs, you boost its immune system, and it will take care of itself. So that's wonderful. And you definitely stay on a low carbon dioxide diet, which, you know, if you stay 100% living food, you are. So now, what we get to, well, emphysema, just to go through, especially when we've been smoking for years, these microscopical holes turn larger, and now chest cavity fluid can actually come into the lungs. And of course, now it's really hard to inhale and exhale. I would do the same treatment. I would do living food. I would do the flaxseed, apple, and garlic. And, you know, endless people have gone through the program. Of course, we quit smoking. Hopefully, we could smoke it, you know, instantly, because what it does to the lungs, there's nothing worse for the lungs than that. Let's go to the kidney. Well, you know, the kidney takes care of the other waste product called uric acid. If you look at uric acid on a blood test, for a female, it should be 3.5. For a male, it should be 5.5. If you come in and you're less, I will tell you, you don't drink enough. Because we need to drink 1/2 ounce per pound you weigh. So if I weigh 160 pounds, I need 80 ounces of fluid. Well, that's everything. That's juices and, you know, water, teas, or whatever. It's all of them. So then you will tell me, no, I haven't been drinking enough. Well, that's not good, because now I actually hold on to acidity in my system. And usually, like the alkaline phosphatase that we had for the liver, one of the liver enzymes usually starts dropping because you have to take minerals out of your bones to fix that. If you don't eat it, you take it out of your bones. There's only 2 ways. If you have too much, well, both of them are just as bad in a way, because if you didn't drink enough and you were on a high acidity diet and you don't pour out enough, that's bad. But if you, of course, then if you are on a high acidity diet and you drink enough, but it's still high, so it's really both of them just as bad. Let's say you're a man and you come in a 8. Guess what happened when you detoxify? It will go up. In 3 weeks, you leave maybe a 12, and you say, I was better when I came. Like all the businesses I told you about the immune system, you know, if you really look at it, you might sit and, if you didn't get explanation, you might think, oh, I'm worse now than when I came. Because if you don't move up or drop, I say you need to fly high or drop low. But if you don't, we have a problem. So all we want here is movement, you know. It's movement in everything. So 12 means, hey, you're flushing out because now you're drinking so much of the greens. wheatgrass, salads, you are capable of getting rid of it. And then it will go down to 5.5. But how long that takes is how much have we have stored, how high protein diet we've been on, especially. So it takes care of that. Then we have kidney enzymes. So when you look at the blood test, you have something called creatinine and BUN, urea nitrogen. And creatinine should be around 1, BUN around 15. When we have problem with acidity for a long time, or we start getting prostate problem, or we have diabetes, we start seeing the numbers go high. You always see them drop. On the living food diet, they will start dropping. Sometimes they go fast down to normal, sometimes they take their time. We don't want to be on a high protein diet. It is very tough. It is very much uric acid in a high protein diet. You want to be on a low protein diet, low fat, low sugar. When you go on an alkaline diet, because this diet is 80% alkaline, 20% acidic. I know my Swedish diet and American diet, standard diet, it's about 80% acidic and 20% alkaline, if that, probably 90% acidic, Then we expect the kidney to take care of it. Flush it out through the bladder. Take care of it. Make sure the blood is always perfect, because pH in your blood should be 7.4. And you cannot live without that. So if I don't eat it, I'll take it out through my bones, because it has to be. Urine and saliva, this is slightly alkaline. Okay, urine and saliva needs to be slightly acidic, because it's a mirror of what you are. So if my urine is spiking above 7, I'm very acidic. But if my urine is around 7, I'm in balance. So remember that, because urine and saliva needs to be slightly acidic. If we want to cleanse the kidney and bladder, let's say we have a bladder infection, and a lot of women get one after the other. An antibiotic can only go so far, and you tend to totally be resistant to it after all. Well, just like the oil for the liver flush, I would use something very acidic. So I would get cranberry juice. And I would not use cranberry juice otherwise, because it's within an acid condition that I can get a bladder infection. But now I'm going to make a super acid condition where the bacteria cannot survive. So it's a fine-tuning. So don't use cranberry if we have an acid problem. And a lot of people here, and a lot of things we pick up, on the wavelength or what you say. The thing is, if you have bladder infection and you just drink some cranberry and then you drink some coffee, and it's not going to work. It's going to make it worse. But now I get the best that you can find. You get organic cranberry juice concentrate. You dilute it 6-7 times. You drink between 3 and 4 quarts a day. You don't drink green drinks. At that time, you cannot drink anything alkaline, because you're going to make a super acid condition. So we drink cranberry, we drink water, and you cannot drink lemon juice. Lemon juice, as soon as it hits your saliva, turns alkaline. Stay out of that. And then you add apple cider vinegar. Get the best organic apple cider vinegar. And you take a tablespoon 3 times a day in an 8-ounce glass of water, and you drink that. Then you get cranberry pills. You can find cranberry pills here. You can find Cranactin in any health food store. You take the dose they recommend. That's all you do for 3 to 4 days, depending on. Boy, what a great kidney flush that is. But again, that's not something we all have to rush and do unless it's a real need for it. And if you were arthritic, I would not suggest this. This is for, kidney stone, mainly bladder infection, okay? So it's not if I have gout or something. You don't want to go for this one. So now, so two of them are double shifters. The lungs brings out carbon dioxide, and the bladder brings out acidity. All right, now we get to the elimination organ. So lungs, we know, and we know kidneys, and then we get to the intestinal tract. Intestinal tract, boy, it's nearly 7 times your length. If we were created to be a carnivore, we would only have an intestinal tract double our size. We have 7 times nearly. Our small intestine is about 26 foot long. Our large intestine about 5 foot long. In your small intestine, you digest most of your foods, like 90% of your food. You know, the fat and cholesterol too. So by the time it hits the large intestine, it's only 5 foot. It is a fast-acting organ, has about 1.5 pounds of friendly bacteria that ferments everything that came in, because that's how you're going to get an ice cream soft stool that you can easily eliminate. Well, nobody feels good when we're constipated. And when we're constipated, we constantly get toxins back into our system. I say, well, if we were supposed to be on a high processed food diet, then that large intestine definitely should have been made of stainless steel. Because, boy, when it sits and ferments, do we ever get toxic? And, we feel it. We feel fatigue, we feel emotional. There's a lot of emotions that comes out of those toxins too. It's really poison. If we could concentrate those toxins in a jar, believe me, that would be under a death skull mark. So we need to cleanse, and we don't live on enemas to cleanse. That's something we do in the detox time, like at the Institute for the first 3 weeks. Then we do it once a week. At home, we suggest when you go home, if you can fast once a week, it's wonderful to fast every 7th day. Give your body a rest. There's a magic to the 7th day. And then the day after, in the morning, you cleanse. You do an enema-ended implant. So that's all we do. For the next 7 years, we'll do an enema-ended implant. And then after that, we only use the colon cleanse as a tool, like Hippocrates used, that people have used for thousands of years to cleanse. If you have a headache, if you have a cold, if something different happened to you. So we got to keep this clean. We need live food, we need oxygen, we need enzymes. And there's certain colon cleansers too, like we use a psyllium mix we have of blue-green algae and herbs and minerals, and we take that a month on, a month off for a year to really help to reshape the intestine too. So now we get to the largest elimination organ in your body, and that's your skin. Your skin is your first immune system. The skin has to take care of anything. Bacteria, virus, this is it, no further. And it has to take care of the temperature in your body. So, for example, we go in different temperatures. We go in saunas and steam baths because it's so wonderful to detoxify through perspiration. And you perspire, you see salts, you see minerals, you see a lot of toxins come out through your skin, and you breathe through your skin. Of course, skin brush, hygiene is not perfume and deodorants. Hygiene is diet and exercise, skin brushing and perspiration. When they test the healthiest athletes, these are the athletes that perspire the most. So in Florida, you perspire mostly, either you want or not. But there are times people come here and they say, I never perspire. Well, guess what? If you don't perspire from steam and sauna, then we'll put you in the ginger bath. Boy, ginger definitely will get you there. You take powdered ground ginger, really fine powdered ginger, fill up a bathtub, really hot water, take a cupful and whip it into it. Sit in that for 15 minutes before you go to sleep. If you don't perspire, then nobody will. And then you take a nice cold shower after that and go to bed. But you better have towels in the bed because you will still perspire after that. So we need to put things on our body that we can breathe through. And it needs to be natural, fiber. The more organic fiber, the better, especially underwear. And, cotton, silk, wool, hemp. Now there is hemp products. There is linen, of course. There's so many products that are coming out that are all natural. Polyester and nylon does not cut it. You don't want those kind of fibers on your body. You don't breathe through them. So if you buy a product that's 50% polyester, 50% cotton, forget it. You're not going to get that. You're going to get 100%. All through our children's, especially baby years, when people would bring us clothes, before we even open the package, because they know what we think, they would say, 100%. No matter what's in that package, it's 100%. So, everybody more or less have understood that. And we cannot put oils and cream on our skin that we cannot eat. And Vigmore always taught us, don't put anything on your skin that you cannot eat. So I don't picture you with a Max Factor jar with a teaspoon. You would not eat that. Now, we have products, and there's a lot of products on the market now that are very, very natural. It's purely minerals and plants. We use Jurlique at the Institute, and we use Avida. We use a lot of different companies, too, that's proven to be really good. So don't put something on you. Don't put a rancid oil on your body. Plus, most of your skin has so beautiful oils themselves that really the only skin, depending on where you live, that you have to protect is face, hands, parts of your body that's really exposed. So we got to take care of it through diet and everything. Now, I want to go through the emotional stuff that we go through, because we store emotions in all our organs. And just as well as we detoxify toxins and acids, carbon dioxide, these emotions go with it. And guess what we store in the liver? Anger. And you know it, because if you're angry, you feel it. But we can store anger. And of course, we don't do this consciously, but subconsciously. If you have a thought more than 33 seconds, it's yours. And when something good happens, it kind of flies by. But when something bad, 33 seconds is a blink. So, just to tell you a story, what happened to my grandmother, because they found the relation of cancer here. This is what we store very much, anger. And my grandmother, long story short, she grew up on a huge farm. They were teachers, and they were very rigid with money. Everything that came in was to make the farm bigger, buy more land, buy more cows, you name it. The man she married came from the same kind of family, and it was their parents that arranged it in the old days, and they looked at the families. It was totally compatible. He was a gambler. He had the disease of gambling, and in those days there were no gambling association, but she lived in misery. She never knew how much they lost or what went, and it was constant anger and misery and not knowing what's next. Then she brought 2 sons up with him, my dad and his brother, and she wanted so much to explore in life and do something with herself. Well, when the sons were in their teens, she got them, we lived far up north, she got them to Stockholm, got them in good school, they became architects. She got them their own apartment, and she was like, I'm a free woman, I'm going to do what I want. Guess what? A year before, her brother, one of her brothers, got married, and at the birth of their son, the wife died. And he asked immediately my grandmother to take care of this boy, and she said, no, I can't. And then it went into actually that the city came and knocked on my grandmother's door and said, you have to. You're the one. So here she is, another 20 years, forget about education, forget about anything that she really wanted to grow. And guess what happened? She got breast cancer because the most nurturing part of the woman is the breast. And most women that have got breast cancer have not that story, but similar stories where it's been family and relationship, and it's been nurturing beyond what we wanted and what we were capable of, but we did. And so it's very important that we work with this. And here we do psychoneuroimmunology. And it's very important because it works on the body and the mind at the same time. We got to work on it, because otherwise, you know what? It will be like a pair of old shoes. And you do all these good things, you do the diet, the exercise, and you understand it, but you walk right back into these old shoes and you know how to behave. And everybody around you know how you behave. So it takes that you really change that behavior. Guess what we store in our kidneys? Fear, worries. And boy, I say, if you're born in northern Scandinavia, you're born to worry. I don't know from what, but boy, if you don't worry, you better worry. So you learn to worry before there's anything to worry about. Oh, I tell you, you're so scared. If you didn't worry, you better worry. So you're far ahead of anything to worry. So guess what that leads to? Arthritis. Do we have arthritis? That's why we specialized in that in Sweden. We have so much arthritis, and kidney and heart works together. So if I keep on worrying enough, my heart's going to start arguing sooner or later. I need to work on worry. And, you know, I've worked on it so much, I still can worry for an army. But now when I go home to see my girlfriends in Sweden, I can't stand it. They're like, you let your kids do what? You did what? And I'm like, well, I guess I've grown out of it a lot, because Brian doesn't worry, so it's wonderful to be around. But, you know, it's definitely, it might take a lifetime to work on this, but we have to do it. We really have to recognize that we do it, because it leads to lots of things. And psoriasis too, eczema, skin problems too, because that, instead of going on my joints, it could go out on my skin. So now I can start getting psoriasis patches on my elbows, on my knees, in my scalp, you know, and sooner or later it might get through my whole body. Boy, I better work on my worries there. Guess what I store in my lungs and large intestine? It's hard to breathe when you are sad. Sadness and grief. Sadness and grief. You stop breathing. How many times right after a funeral haven't you got bronchitis or pneumonia, like out of the blue? You just stop breathing. You can't handle it. So a lot of problems, even emphysema. Of course, we know smoking, we know asbestos, we know all these things, but also sadness and grief. It has to be a big part of that. Problem with the large intestine. I get polyps, we get tumors. It definitely has an emotional ingredient there. Now, small intestine and your heart store something you cannot live without. And it's love and joy. You don't have a heart attack when you have love and joy in your life. Small intestine, that's where you digest most of your food. So imagine how important it is that when we eat, and I know most of us can't do that all day, but at least once a day we owe it to ourselves, to our whole system, that we set a table, that there's peace when we eat. Because otherwise, if you sit in front of TV, you might as well eat paper. You're not going to digest it. Well, yeah, eat up your newspaper. The thing is, you know, you really hurt your whole immune system by doing that, even if there's shows you like, because we need to give praise and we need to give thanks that we are here and that we have this meal in front of us. We need to do that. You know, it's old tradition. It's not there for fun. It's there because we have found through thousands of years that we needed it. Now, so we go through this. So guess what? You have all gone through it all your life, but maybe not being so aware. When you detoxify, it might be much stronger. You wake up some mornings and you're angry. Oh, you wake up, God forbid somebody says something wrong, you'll snap them up so fast. You have to have a sign saying, keep distance to me today. Honestly, you feel so much anger. Then some mornings you're so worried. Oh, God, you're so worried, and you have so much fear, and everything you hear. Then some mornings you wake up and you can cry all day. You just cry and you have so much sadness. Some mornings you wake up and there's this big smile and you can't let go of it. Everything is wonderful. The world is great. Everything is great. We go through them. Sometimes heavier, and depending, we're all good at storing, but some of us are better at some. So we need to figure out also what we're good at storing. And we work through dreams too. You wake up some mornings and you're happy you woke up. You have these heavy dreams, sometimes anger, fear, sadness, happiness. You know, sometimes you meet people you haven't seen for years and years in your dreams, and a lot of things come back in those dreams. But remember, you actually detoxify, and you did all your life. You're just going to do it so much better now, you know? So now I'm open for questions. Yeah?
Yeah, you talked about coffee being very important in terms of acidifying your blood.
Yes.
And I drink a lot of coffee. So would you talk a little bit more about that? Because
coffee.
I know that's something that probably would be beneficial for me to get
hear.
into a...
Okay, you have an hour. Now, caffeine is a poison, first of all. If I look at your blood test, I will know that you drink coffee. I always know if you drink coffee. It's very destructive. And of course, women show so much more osteoporosis because our bone structure is so much different than yours. All our goodies goes to have kids and, you know, all that. But you will also have osteoporosis, but you won't see it as much as women. The thing is, prostate hates caffeine. And being acidic, you know, if you as a man think what's going to happen as I get older, because prostate definitely is luring back there. The thing is, I want to be on a very alkaline diet. I do not want to ask for problem with the prostate. A heavy acidic diet, which coffee will do in a second. I say if you want 1 cup of coffee, you better drink 10 cups of green drinks right after. And maybe that's not even enough. You see? So it's very destructive. It will lead to so many problems. And when the kidney, when your uric acid goes up, then your heart will start to argue. Then your cholesterol will raise. And blood pressure might start raising. But actually, one thing that we didn't talk about, but the acidity will actually manifest it. But number one for arteriosclerosis of your arteries is, first, there was a Swedish study that proved that actually protein has to cover the inner wall first, and then fat and cholesterol, and protein goes around and around, and you might have a artery that's clogged 80%. You know, the 3 arteries that goes through your heart. A lot of people come here. One is 100% clogged, 80, 60% clogged. Acidity manifests this because the calcification will happen through the acidity. We take blood pressure here. This is fun. Anything between 90/60 up to 120/80 is okay. Well, of course, if this dimension should be this big and I have only this, if I have all these gallons a minute going through this dimension and now they have to go through this, the pressure is going to go up. Because you have the systolic number, the pressure when it goes through your heart, and the diastolic is the resting number. I'm always 90/60, no matter what I do. Your heart works a little bit slower when you're 90/60. Brian's always 120/80, no matter what he does. And the heart works a little bit faster. So when he drives the car, I sit on the brake on the side, but I don't have any brakes, but I can't take that kind of speed. And now when we ski, he just flies down, and I find him in the tree holding on because he doesn't know how to stop. And I zigzag my way all the way down because my heart can't take that kind of speed. You have to know where you're at. You actually, in work too, you have to know where you're at. And many times I've sat with business people that are very stressed and they live in 120/80 life and they're only 90/60, and I say, maybe you need to start to change something in your life because you're spinning the wheels, you see? So when I was pregnant, I was 70/50. My midwife thought I couldn't move around. I was perfectly fine. I lived there all my life. What's a little bit less? So I tell you, what you start to do with an alkaline diet, a living food diet, you start to decalcify, even arteriosclerosis. So caffeine comes in everywhere. Gout, number one.
Okay, back to coffee.
Yeah. Oh.
The natural coffee, the organic coffee.
Yeah. There is a substitute for coffee, and now there are a lot of businesses that have really specialized in making coffee tastes like real coffee, and it all is grains. So it's toasted grains. And yes, if you go from coffee and you love it and you want something, then you would go to that. Eventually you would want to go off that too, because anything toasted is also acidic, but definitely not the poison that you started with coffee. Yeah.
I'd like to hear you say some more. You started talking about fruit and acid and alkaline and the ripeness, and
Right.
I'd like to hear you say some more about fruit.
When you can pick fruit off the trees, like in Florida, we can pick papayas and mangoes and bananas right off the tree, then it is an alkaline fruit. But still, remember that fruit is hybrid. Fruit is hybrid, and hybrid is so much more sugar. They found that it's in the last 100 years we hybrid, so there's about 30 times more sugar than it was before. You know, in Sweden we had an apple orchard. You know how much apples we use? Because we use apple and garlic every day. We had hundreds of trees in our apple orchard. None of those apples tasted like anything we have today. None of them. They were tart. And if you have apple trees that are, old, you know that they are tart. So we have hybrid everything. There's much more sugar. We got to be more careful. We say if your diet is 15% fruit, it's fine if that's the time of your life right now. Let's say that I have cancer or I have severe yeast infection. I'm not going to eat fruit. I don't want to feed sugar into a system like that. A tumor grows from sugar. And of course, yeast love sugar. So then I'm not going to eat it right now. Then I'm going to take the time and cleanse, detoxify and eliminate, and then wait for the right time and go back. So there's a time for everything. Remember that, because fruit is a fantastic detoxifier, and it's in the morning that we use it. But if it's picked off the tree unripe, except lemons will ripen, although of course they would be so much better if they were ripe anyway. Yeah.
Hi. And what about getting back to the ginger bath? How much ginger? That'd be good for a cold or for something.
Oh, it would be
like this
great
one.
for a cold. It helps you detoxify, perspire. It will cut a fever for you. You take 1 cup.
Oh, a cup
Or
in
a
bath.
palmful.
And very hot.
Very hot water, so you hardly can get in.
And what about eating the ginger?
Eat the ginger, drink the ginger. Oh, it's great. You just grate it in some
Right.
hot water and drink it, which is great when you're nauseous too. Nothing can beat the ginger and lemon and water.
Now, with the ginger, is that like alkaline or?
Oh, absolutely. Very, very
okay.
alkaline. Very full of enzymes. Beautiful food. When you can't eat garlic, you eat ginger. You can't smell like a rose all the time, so you eat ginger sometimes. Yeah.
I had a question on garlic. I love garlic, and
yeah.
I found out about the good properties, so I tried to eat a lot of it.
Yeah.
And I found I had problems with being very lightheaded, and I assumed it was lowering my blood pressure.
It balances blood pressure. It's the best way to balance your HDL cholesterol. We didn't even talk about that. The cholesterol. Your liver makes your cholesterol. No, it helps to balance. You know, HDL and LDL are the two buddies for the cholesterol, really. It's made in the liver, and cholesterol is made in the liver enough for you to survive. You have between 70 and 150 you should be. And on a living food diet, you are around 100, 110. Whenever we get a new insurance company, you know, that come and take your blood, God forbid you're sick, so then they don't want you. So anyway, they take it and then they call back and say, everything is excellent, but your cholesterol is so low. Well, it's never been testing on a living food diet. So you know that Framingham study showed, the heart study showed that nobody has had a heart attack if you are below 150. There's never been a heart attack below 150. Here, in a 3-week study, you will be less, about 50 points less. So if you come in 250, you'll leave about 200. HDL is the good fat. Although there's no such thing as good and bad, but it's called the good because it brings the fat away from the cell, and it should be a third of whatever your cholesterol is. A third. So if my cholesterol is 150, it should be 50, but even better is a little bit more. Kenneth Cooper, who studied, he has a big institute in Dallas, Texas, and studies super athletes and studies people before and after heart attacks and strokes. And he's found if HDL could be more than a third, so the ratio, when it says cholesterol HDL ratio on your blood test, it should be like 2.6, 2.8. It's fantastic. You see? A little bit more. So if I had an HDL of 55 and my cholesterol was 150, it would be good. LDL brings the fat to the cells. And you cannot live without cholesterol. It's definitely protecting every organ and every cell. It's a big part of your system. So it should be less than 100. It's very dependent on how these two work. But this is the one, HDL is the one that we've looked at, you know, for strokes and heart attacks, and especially that range. So if you come in, your cholesterol is 250 and your HDL is only 20, we have a problem. Then the LDL will be too high. Then you have something called triglycerides. Triglycerides should be less than 100. That's just fats. That's from wine and beer and pasta and bread and bakery. That's where we get the triglycerides from. It's just fat, so it's not cholesterol. But boy, they can cause trouble. Because, you know, if you don't digest them well and they're running around, and I can sit and look at them all the time in the blood. One time a guy came in and he had 1,500 in triglycerides. And it was a snowstorm. When you look at the blood, the red blood, you see some triglycerides. They float. They're like little stars in the dark background. Well, you're talking snowstorm. It was just a snowstorm. One lady came here, wonderful story, with diabetes. Diabetes for like 30 years. Was on heavy medication and heart medication, blood pressure medication. Her triglycerides, I've never seen numbers like this, were 5,500. Her cholesterol was 750. This is true. We have her blood tests. Her cholesterol was 750. Her HDL was a 10th or a 12th. Should be a third. She was here for 6 weeks. Her cholesterol was 150. Her triglycerides, trying to remember right now, it's 300 or 400. From 5,500 in 6 weeks. Unbelievable. Her range was 3 or 4. I mean, it was so perfect. I couldn't believe it. She really cleaned up.
How's she doing now?
She is hopefully continuing. You know, 6 weeks, that's all we have, and then you just hope that you will continue. Of course, she lost lots of weight in 6 weeks. I mean, she really trimmed up. She's really happy. So triglycerides, we don't want in high numbers. Nice meeting you all. Have a good day. Thanks.
Hippocrates is a 501c3 nonprofit educational organization. Our lifelong mission is to educate people on how to live a healthy lifestyle. Whether you are an alumnus watching this program for a review or seeing our work for the first time via these programs, we hope you will learn, grow, heal, and live to your highest potential. If we can assist you to do so, it is our honor, our privilege, and the reason we are here.